At 92, Willie Nelson just revealed what we all feared. What does it mean to face the end with unwavering calm after a lifetime of pain, heartbreak, and devastating loss? At 92, Willie Nelson is speaking openly about the fears most of us refuse to even name. After burying his own son, surviving financial ruin, battling chronic lung disease, and recently being forced to fight back against viral AI-generated hoaxes declaring him dead, Willie Nelson's brutal honesty about mortality may permanently change the way you see life's final chapter. How does a man who once lay down in a Nashville street hoping a car would end his suffering find genuine peace with death? The answer is more powerful and more unsettling than you might expect. Early life and abandonment. Willie Nelson's story begins in the dust and desperation of Depression-era Texas, a place and time that would quietly forge the iron in his character. Born on April 29, 1933, in Abbott, Texas, his earliest years were not defined by warmth but by absence. At just 6 years old, he watched his mother walk away, leaving him and his sister in the care of their grandparents under a hollow promise that better times would bring her back. Those better times never came. His father remarried and moved on, leaving young Willie to wrestle silently with a question that would haunt him for years: why wasn't he enough? His grandparents, William and Nancy Smothers, provided what stability they could. Nancy taught him music. William handed him his first guitar at age 6, unknowingly planting the seed of a legend. But even in that warmth, the ache of abandonment never left. Summers found Willie laboring alongside migrant cotton pickers under a merciless Texas sun, his small hands blistering as he performed work far beyond his years. It was a brutal education in endurance, and it became inseparable from his identity. By age 7, music became his only reliable refuge. Writing his first rudimentary song, he discovered a way to give voice to what he couldn't otherwise express. He knew he wasn't the most gifted singer or guitarist in any room. But he understood early that his honesty was his instrument and that no one could take that from him, no matter what else they took away. Struggles with family and loss. His early marriage to Martha Matthews promised a fresh start. They built a home and raised 3 children, Lana, Susie, and Billy, while Willie chased his dreams in Nashville, the beating heart of country music. Behind closed doors, however, survival was a daily negotiation. He was writing songs that would later become classics, yet he couldn't reliably keep food on the table. He crashed on couches. Rejection letters piled up. The gap between the artist he was becoming and the provider he struggled to be drove a slow, quiet wedge into everything he'd built at home. Caught in cycles of frustration and self-doubt, Willie turned to whiskey and cigarettes. One brutally cold Nashville night, overwhelmed by despair and deep in drink, he stumbled into a freezing street and lay down in the road, waiting for headlights that never came to finish what the pain had started. Cars swerved. Life spared him. And that act of surviving when he'd stopped trying to became, in retrospect, the moment his story truly began. But nothing the world threw at him compared to the loss of his son Billy, who died by suicide on Christmas Day, 1991, at the age of 33. When Willie received that call, something in him collapsed entirely. Billy had been carrying the invisible weight of being Willie Nelson's son, fighting private battles that his family could see but not stop. The two had been planning a gospel album together, a fragile, hopeful project that would now never exist. That unrealized dream became a monument to everything Willie couldn't fix with music or money or love. Financial ruin and the IRS battle. While still drowning in grief, Willie faced a second catastrophe that would have destroyed most people. In 1990, the IRS arrived with seizure notices demanding a staggering $32 million in back taxes, the result of years of financial mismanagement by people he had trusted entirely. Gold records, his beloved piano, his Texas ranch, all of it went. In a single sweep, a cultural icon was reduced to a debtor facing complete erasure. His advisors urged bankruptcy. Willie refused. Instead, he recorded the IRS tapes, "Hold by My Memories," donating every cent of revenue directly to the government. He played county fairs, small venues, every available stage. The man who sang about freedom became, with painful irony, enslaved to a debt he hadn't created. But by 1993, he had paid every penny. Not because the law demanded it, but because his sense of personal honor did. That choice, more than any song he ever wrote, revealed the architecture of who Willie Nelson truly is. Political courage and social stances. Willie's willingness to absorb punishment for his convictions extended well beyond finances. In an industry built on playing it safe, he has spent decades refusing to. He kissed Charlie Pride on stage in the 1960s as a direct rebuke to racial segregation in country music. He openly campaigned for progressive political candidates when doing so meant losing radio play and record sales. He performed Cowboys Are Frequently Secretly Fond of Each Other in 2006, a playful but pointed challenge to hypermasculine country culture. He released Vote M Out in 2018 and watched fans burn his records in response and didn't flinch. His independence has carried into the present. In July 2025, when AI-generated images of Willie in a hospital bed went viral alongside false claims that he had been rushed to intensive care, Willie fired back directly and with characteristic wit, "LOL, what a joke. Anyways, see y'all at the 4th of July picnic tomorrow." He then took the stage in Austin alongside Bob Dylan and the Avett Brothers. Even the machinery of digital misinformation couldn't keep him down. Whiskey riff. Health battles and the cost of a lifetime. For decades, Willie's lungs have been the truest measure of the toll his life has taken on his body. His left lung collapsed without warning during a 1981 family vacation in Maui. Emphysema followed. Recurring pneumonia weakened him further, each episode stealing a little more of the stamina that had once seemed bottomless. In 2015, he underwent experimental stem cell surgery, a necessary gamble on borrowed time. Then COVID-19 arrived in 2022, a near-fatal encounter for a man whose lungs were already compromised, and his wife Annie turned their home into a round-the-clock care facility to nurse him through it. The most recent chapter of this battle is one many fans didn't see coming. Willie has given up smoking entirely, including marijuana, the substance most synonymous with his public identity, because, as he told Forbes, "My lungs have already said, don't do that." He still consumes cannabis through edibles in his own Willie's Remedy THC drinks, but the smoke is gone, and those close to him say he has come back stronger and more spirited than ever as a result. His album Oh What a Beautiful World, released in April 2025 just before his 92nd birthday, was nominated for Best Traditional Country Album at the 2026 Grammy Awards, proof that the artist has not merely survived but continued to grow. Yahoo Plus 2. The Highwayman and the Weight of Being Last. Willie's losses have not been confined to family and fortune. The brotherhood he built with Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and Chris Christopherson, the outlaw supergroup known as the Highwaymen, has been systematically claimed by Time. Waylon went in 2002. Cash followed in 2003. Then, in September 2024, Chris Christopherson died at 88, leaving Willie as the sole surviving member of a group that once represented the beating, defiant heart of American music. He attended yet another funeral. He stood at yet another graveside. And he carried the way home. Being the last highwayman is not a trophy. It is a recurring confrontation with mortality, not abstract or philosophical, but achingly personal. Each funeral was a rehearsal. Each goodbye was a preview of his own. Willie has said that watching his closest friends navigate their final days taught him more about dying than any sermon or philosophy ever could. Cash performed until his body simply refused. Jennings kept creating until the very end. Christopherson never stopped putting his pain into language. Their exits were their final lessons, and Willie absorbed every one. Mortality, acceptance, and final reflections. What Willie Nelson has arrived at, after 92 years of loss and survival, is not resignation, it is clarity. He doesn't perform bravado about death. He doesn't romanticize it. He describes it with the plain, unflinching practicality of someone who has simply been closer to it than most. After his battle with COVID-19 reshaped his understanding of his own body, he has spoken of death as less dramatic than the world imagines, sometimes just a matter of running out of breath. He has come to believe that suffering, not death itself, is the true enemy. Clinging to what you cannot keep, possessions, people, youth, the version of yourself that once felt invincible, that is where the real pain lives. Willie lost his son. He lost his fortune. He lost his brothers. He lost the lungs that once let him play for hours without stopping. And through all of it, he discovered that letting go is not defeat. It is the only honest response to a life fully lived. The man who once lay in a frozen Nashville street hoping to disappear now greets the approaching end not with fear, but with something rarer, acceptance earned through genuine suffering. He brushes off speculation about decline with characteristic bluntness. I don't give a damn. I'm here. I'm glad to be here. I'm lucky to be here. Nicki Swift. Legacy and enduring spirit. Even as his body manages the realities of age, Willie's creative output has not slowed. Beyond Oh What a Beautiful World, he released Workin' Man, Willie Sings Merle in 2025, a tribute to Merle Haggard that deepened his ongoing conversation with the American songbook. Every concert now carries the weight of potential farewell, and every song doubles as a gift both to the audience and to the man himself, who has learned to find meaning in the present rather than mourn what the past has taken. Outlaw Music Festival. His legacy lives in more than music. It lives in the proof that a person can endure abandonment, addiction, bankruptcy, the death of a child, the slow disintegration of a body, and the loss of nearly everyone they loved, and still show up. Still create. Still tell the truth. Willie Nelson teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to keep going in full awareness of everything that awaits. And perhaps that is the most important song he has ever sung, not recorded on any album, but written in the way he has chosen to live every day he has been given.